girls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today is going to be the start of my summerween reading vlog. Now I say the start of my summerween reading vlog and not summerween because I have been participating, but today is the 4th. It started on the 2nd. Today is just the first day I've gotten it together enough to film, but do not fear, I have been reading for these prompts. I love Summerween. I did it last year and I also participated in Winterween this year, so I'm very excited to be participating in Summerween again. I have a really good TBR. I am ready to start my fall celebrations, my countdown to Halloween, and I have a Ouija board sweatshirt on, so I'm ready to go. So I figured for my first update with you guys, I would go ahead and talk through all the books that I am planning on reading for Summerween. There are 5 prompts. One of them is not a book prompt. It's to bake or make a drink with your spooky read. So that'll be later on in the week or maybe tomorrow. I have the day off work tomorrow, but that'll definitely get done. Any excuse to make some snacks, some treats is a good one for me. Moving on to the other prompts, I am going to read a book for each single one of these prompts. So prompt number 2, read a book in the dark. I am going to go with my audiobook for this one, and that is going to be Within These Walls by Ania Ahlborn. And I have read from Ania Ahlborn before. She is a really solid horror writer. She has a ton out, so there's a large backlog for you to choose from. I have not read a lot into it yet, but so far it's giving me, if you've ever seen the movie Sinister, it is very much giving me Sinister vibes in terms of the structure and how like everyone is kind of moving into this haunted house. If you've ever seen that, I really enjoy it. If you're looking for a spooky movie recommendation, I feel like it's a fairly popular one, but if you haven't seen it, you should. I really enjoyed it. So it's kind of giving me those vibes where it's about a reporter and he is trying to write this crime story and he's moving into a house of the scene of the crime. It's going to be paranormal, very spooky in some sort of way. Very excited to read more into it. The next prompt is read a paranormal book, and for that one I'm going with a graphic novel. I'm going to be going with Mercy by Mirka Andolfo. She actually writes and illustrates this. This is a Victorian Gothic graphic novel about vampires. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous, definitely giving me Gothic, amazing vampire realness there. Very excited to read this. I have read comics by Mirka Andolfo before, and I have really enjoyed what I've read so far from her in the past. This one is a bind up of The Fair Lady, The Frost, and The Fiend. So I believe like volumes 1 through 3. I am very excited. Like even the first page illustration is really having me excited to read this. Even like the title pages and all of the different little illustrations, just in terms of text pages, are just really cool, serving me all of the Victorian Gothic vampire goodness that I've been needing in my life. So very excited to get to this one as well. Moving on to the next prompt, and that is just read a horror book. And for this one, I've already actually gotten a good chunk of the way through this book, and that is going to be House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland. This is a YA horror, sort of dark fairy tale-esque sort of reimagining. It's following these 3 sisters who all mysteriously disappear as children, and they come back a little bit different in some very unusual ways, but they have no memory of what happened to them when they were missing for nearly a month. So there is a time jump from them disappearing as children to now they are mostly adults. We are following Iris, our main protagonist, who is the youngest of these 3 sisters. She's, I think, a senior in high school. Her other 2 sisters are grown, and one of her sisters, her oldest sister, goes missing again in mysterious circumstances that might have echoed what happened to them as children. So I'm really enjoying this one so far. It's definitely like YA horror, very Gothic as well. It definitely has those creepy sort of changeling, almost fairy tale folklore sort of vibes. I should actually finish this one by the next time that I talk to you all, because I'm on page 176 of, I think, 280, and this is one that I am just flying through. I'm very invested. I want to find out the secrets behind these three sisters, so I'm very much looking forward to finishing this one. This will probably be the book that I finish first in this readathon. And then last but not least, the prompt, read a book with black and or orange on the cover. I did find a book that has both colors on the cover. I did want to, for Summerween, keep this readathon very horror focused. However, I just got this book in as one of my pre-orders, and it's orange and it's black on the cover, and it's one of my most anticipated releases, so we're just gonna squeeze it on here. It doesn't have to be horror. I tried to keep it all horror, but I'm so excited to read this. I'm going to be picking it up during this readathon as well, and that is going to be The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This is the first in, I think it is a duology. No, I take that back. It's a trilogy, but the blurb for this one is: a ruthless princess seeking to steal a throne, a powerful priestess seeking to save her family. Together they will set an empire ablaze. I'm very excited for this one. A ton of my favorite authors have blurbed this on the back. So we have R.F. Kuang, I know Samantha Shannon's talked about this, Andrea Stewart, Shelley Parker Chan, who I've not read anything by them yet, but She Who Became the Sun is also another one of my most anticipated releases for this year. Also, Chloe Gong and S.A. Chakraborty both blurbed this as well. So a lot of people have been enjoying this, from early reviews from people on Bookstagram and BookTube. A lot of people have loved this so far. It is like a very epic fantasy. It's also very queer, very sapphic. I'm looking forward to this one. It's orange and black. I know it's not horror, but I'm just so excited to read this one. I had to read it, pick it up as soon as possible. So that is my main TBR for this week, and I know I'm already on day 3 technically, and I know we are a little bit into this readathon so far, so I don't want to push myself to the limit. I definitely think that I can read everything on my TBR. There are some other horror paranormal books that I'd like to pick up if I finish all of these, but I'm not pushing it. I'm not going to talk about them here because I don't want to jinx myself. I am in a really big reading mood, and also I'm almost done with one of the books. One of them is a graphic novel. I also believe that Within These Walls is kind of on the shorter side. I don't think it's too chunky of a book, so there is a chance I could finish all of these books, but I just wanted to hop on here and kind of introduce the vlog. It's a couple days into the readathon and I haven't actually done that so far, so welcome. We're doing Summerween. We're excited about it. It is July 4th now, so I'm gonna go hang out with my dog, and like most other living beings on this planet, is terrified of fireworks. So I am actually going to go cuddle him, maybe read some. It is later on in the day. We'll see. Maybe pick up my graphic novel, maybe push through and finish House of Hollow. But I will talk to you all tomorrow with another reading update. Very excited. Let's go Summerween 2021. Hey friends, long time no talk. This Summerween reading vlog not turning out how I was anticipating it to turn out at all. Kind of mirroring my life this past week. It has been a wild couple of days and I haven't vlogged at all. I've kind of read, I haven't really been reading because I had some stuff that was just like my focus for the past couple of days, and yeah, let's talk about it real fast just to kind of explain, you know, where I've been at for the past week or so. It is Thursday today, and I haven't really read much. I'll update on my reading after this update, but I definitely haven't been reading as much as I am used to reading in a week because on Friday, drove to work, everything was fine. After work, got in my car, turned my car on, and the brake lights were on. And I do have, well, I had a very older car. It was a 2008 model. It has been through a lot. It's been through multiple moves to different states, just like a lot of travel from college to home to college again to different places. So it's been through a lot. 2008 car, and the brake light turned on, which sometimes, I don't know if it was just my older car, but maybe other older cars sometimes do this. Sometimes with my car, some certain lights will kind of turn on when you turn the car on, but then will turn off after a moment. It's an older car. I had things similar to that checked out before, and it's just like a little bit of an error within the car itself, but nothing to worry about. So the light turned on, it's happened before. I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. So I started to drive home, and I noticed that my brakes were not okay. Luckily, before I get on like the highway, there are a couple of turns down smaller roads, and as I was stopping at lights, as I was turning, I was like, my brakes really are not working. And it was an older car and with some issues, but brakes weren't really working. I was like, I cannot take this on the highway. So I pulled into a parking lot and was like, let's see if we can get this fixed. Now, my partner was lucky enough. He had already been off of work. He was relatively close by. He drove to this random parking lot that I was at, picked me up. We went to a AutoZone and we got brake fluid for the car because that's what the light was saying. It shouldn't have needed brake fluid, but that's what that light was saying, and it still wasn't going off. So we got the braking fluid, came back, tried to put it in the car. There was still some in the car, so we were really thinking at that point that wasn't the issue, even though the light was on, because it wasn't empty, but we filled it up all the way to the top. I took a very long but back roads way home so I wouldn't have to deal with as many cars, with intentions to take it to the shop as soon as possible. However, it was a holiday weekend, so Saturday, Sunday, everywhere was closed around us. And so then we get to Monday, places are finally open. I luckily still am not working, neither is my partner. We take my car to a car repair shop, and I think that's going to be the end of it. I prepare for maybe some bigger changes and some like bigger things that needs done on the car because it's an old car, and there was actually this time last year, I believe, maybe a little bit earlier than this time last year, I had to do very extensive work to my car. It was like over $1,000 in repairs, which was just not fun. And really that should have been my, okay, my car's on its way out, this is the last big extensive repair, but we were moving and there's like a lot of other costs that go into that, so just never got around to even looking for other cars, but knowing in the back of my mind that my car was on its way out. So we get it to the dealership, we go in my partner's car to do some errands. I still have this sick feeling in my stomach, but I do have anxiety, so I'm like, it's gonna be okay. They're going to fix it. I didn't get in a crash. Everything's okay. The experts have it now and they're going to fix it. 10 minutes into our excursion, we get a phone call, and I know that's not good because car work takes more than 10 minutes. It's a very speedy turnaround. And I pick up the phone and the person at the auto store says, I can't even change your oil because the bottom of your car is so rusted that if I were to try to change anything, I'm afraid it all might fall apart. And like the brakes were rubbing on something else, and just like a lot of very concerning things, which should have gotten fixed the last time that I had that huge extensive like $1,000 fix on my car last year. So at this point I asked him for a quote. I'm like, okay, well, I need my car. How much is this all gonna cost? And he's like, I can't work on it. It's a liability for me. And honestly, a lot of the shops around here are going to say the same thing. So that means on Monday, I'm getting a new car, and I have not planned this out at all. I work on Tuesday. It's like I need a car because me and my partner, like say we both live right here. he works over here, I work over here. So it's not like we could like maintain like a carpool system that would really make sense for the either of us with one car. And it would be a very expensive Uber because I've got like a 30-minute drive to work there and back every day. So needed to get a new car. Very stressful. Was going around researching cars on Carvana. We called them and they wouldn't even take my car for a trade-in or to even sell it for like parts. So that was frustrating. We're going around trying to research good, safe cars that were also in my budget because I had not really been budgeting for a car. And just finally, with the remote help of my dad, who was helping us research really fast, we found that our local Hyundai dealership was doing a deal. We called them. They actually offered a lot more cash than I thought my car would be worth for a trade-in, and one of their sedans was actually like in my price range. So went to the dealership to check it out on Monday, ended up buying a car there, which was crazy. I was expecting maybe a couple of days to do some research and everything, but found one that was in my budget, found a place that they would actually take my car, which was nice because every other place had said that it's basically worthless, not even for parts. They offered about $600–700 for it to trade in for a new car, which was so nice, helped me out so much. So I have a new car. Now, I don't know how much everyone is like clued in to like the car world, because I know I wasn't before I started searching for a new car, but there's apparently a lot of issues and shortages in the supply chain right now. So if you're trying to buy a used car, the prices were jacked up a ton because you can't really get parts. So I was pretty dissuaded from buying a used car, especially one where, you know, you might not be able to get the parts. So if it had an issue, you might not be able to get the parts as soon as you needed to. And then also with new cars as well, there's a shortage of new cars because just in the whole entire industry, because of COVID and I guess some other reasons, there is a huge shortage of these parts. And I bought my car on Monday, but the exact model that I was getting, they had to ship in from Dallas because that was the only place in the area close to me. I live in Arkansas. That was the only car in the model and the type that I wanted that was close, was Dallas. So they shipped it in from Dallas. They gave me a free loaner car while I was waiting for my car, and then I picked the car up yesterday night. So it has been a whirlwind of a week in which I had car troubles, didn't have a car, freaking out about getting a car, freaking out about just so many things about, you know, I need money to purchase a car, can't get to work if I don't have a car, that wonderful catch-22. Being very worried about this being my first car purchase and my first new car purchase. My last car was my family's old car, and then I bought it from them, you know, for tax purposes. It's better than receiving a gift. So I bought it for $1 from my dad, and then I've just been driving it ever since. So this is my first car purchase, first new car purchase. I definitely felt so much imposter syndrome even when I was supposed to be feeling excited, because I mean, I'm 26. I'm old enough to buy a car, and I am an adult. I have a job and everything like that, but I just felt the whole time that I was getting things done that I was just like a kid pretending to be an adult. So a ton of imposter syndrome there, and just it was a very, very stressful week for me. So yes, from like Friday night till Wednesday, all of that was going on. Didn't read a lot. I did not read a lot. That's okay. It was really taking like everything within me to hold it together while I was trying to process all of these deals, get all this paperwork together, still go to work while, you know, my mind is thinking about all of these things. And now today's my day off. It is Thursday and I'm finally ready to calm down, have my new car, and hopefully my life will slow down a little bit. Fingers crossed that this is like going to be the end of my car troubles, at least for a good long while. It is a brand new car, 2021 model, and it does have, I went with Hyundai because this specific car and that company also has like a wonderful warranty, and just what someone who, at least for me, someone who had a ton of car troubles in the past and just continuously was just getting very frustrated with that with an older car, really wanted to have all of that car care and just the warranties and the promises built in with a car. So hopefully I don't have to have any more stressful things pertaining to my car for a really long time. So I'm very excited. It's a Hyundai Accent. It's red, which, you know, I was initially not sure I was gonna go for. My last car was black. Never thought of myself as someone with like brightly colored cars, but I think it works. It's a really cute color of red. And then the inside, the interior is black, which I wanted. That was something that I was more particular about because, you know, when I'm driving the car, I don't see the outside of it, but I do see the inside. So it is red with a black interior. I love it. I'm just very excited to have that all put behind me and relax. So there you have it. That's why there's kind of like an introduction to this vlog and then nothing up until this point, but I'm ready to vlog. I understand that it's only Thursday and Friday left of this readathon, but I still feel like I can power through and get some progress made on some of the books that I wanted to read during this readathon. I am not going to get as much reading done as I thought, but life happens. Definitely, you know, things are more important than reading when it comes to some life situations. So let's talk about books now, because I did manage to finish one of my books for this challenge, and that is going to be House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland. This is a YA horror, sort of gothic style of fairy tale reimagining about three sisters, and when they are children, they mysteriously go missing. They're gone for an entire month and then they magically reappear again. However, when they come back, they are changed somehow. They look a little bit different, their hair color's a little bit different, and they have some powers that they definitely didn't have before mysteriously vanishing. That happened a long time ago. Now the sisters are grown up. They are young women, I think ranging from like 21, 22 to 19, I think our youngest sister is. So they are older than children. Time has passed. They are still like very much like an oddity. People are still very invested in their story and the disappearance. It's never been solved. None of the sisters have any recollection of what happened to them in their disappearance and reappearance. So it's still very much a mystery. However, the oldest sister disappears under similar circumstances to their original disappearance so many years before, and the final two sisters have to figure out where their sister went and maybe what happened to them all those years ago in order to find her again. This is okay. I enjoyed it. I think it has a really wonderful atmosphere. It does have a sister relationship, which I tend to really enjoy in books. I thought the beginning was a lot stronger than the end, and I do feel like this is a pretty short book and it is pretty fast-paced as well. I did enjoy this. I enjoyed the beginning and I enjoyed the premise and the idea behind this book, I think, more than the final execution. I just think, I don't know, maybe also like I'm slightly, again, I feel like, I don't want to say this because technically 26, I am a young adult. Like if you're talking about adulthood being from the age of 18, which you're a legal adult, to, you know, your 90s and 100s, and like all of that is adulthood, technically I'm a young adult. However, I have been noticing this recently with young adults, and in particular like darker young adult, like horror and thrillers and like dark academia, those sorts of genres. I was just kind of waiting for this to go somewhere a little bit darker, and I just feel like I think we need to bring back the new adult label more and use it for more than just like romance books, which I feel like you mostly see it in like terms of a romance genre. But if this is young adult and then there's adult, I feel like there needs to be a different genre, because I don't feel like I'm ready to give up younger adult stories, because I am a young adult, but at the same time, our main protagonist is in high school. I definitely feel like a lot of our main character's conflict, I related more to her older sisters than herself, which obviously that's a me problem, not a book problem. But I have been noticing for a lot of young adult titles, nothing against the book itself, but I read it and I go, that was good, but I bet my younger sister would like it better. Which again, I'm obviously not trying to like knock down YA or discount YA. I do love YA. I mean, if you just kind of look on my shelves behind me, I do have a mix of YA and adult titles. I enjoy YA. I'm not trying to say that it's not as good. I just have been noticing that with books, at least especially this year when I've been picking up 2021 releases marked YA. They read a little younger than I was expecting, which of course, young adult. But anyway, that is my little thing. And then skip to when I'm no longer holding this book if you don't want any sort of like hints to spoilers. I don't think it's a spoiler, but it might be. It's just kind of more comment on some like things and like tropes and devices used in here maybe. So skip to when I'm putting this down if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever. But I will say, if you are Irish, and I'm sure there are so many other cultures that have this same sort of folk tale as well. Like I mentioned, this is kind of like a fairy tale reimagining. If you're Irish, or if you have heard of the specific folk tale that even is referenced within the first couple of chapters, then you know the story. There's no plot twist, which is okay, but I almost would have rather had the book have that being like a thing that's out in the open as opposed to a twist, because I felt like it was fairly obvious, and I didn't mind it because if you know what fairy tale I'm talking about, it's a very interesting fairy tale and like very interesting sort of like fairy sort of lore, but it was presented as like a twist at the end of the book, which I feel like if you're familiar with that trope or fairy tale at all, you know from the beginning what is happening. So I just would have rather had us explore that trope and explore the feelings of maybe the person in that fairy tale trope, as opposed to discovering like that this was like a plot twist and this was like supposed to be some big shocking reveal, when I just feel like it is a fairly popular fairy tale sort of story. So I did enjoy it. Definitely more of like a middle of the road sort of book. I was just kind of expecting, I don't know, maybe I was hoping for it to be a little longer, a little more like unsettling, slow paced. It was very fast paced, I will say though. I did, and I was in a reading slump because of my life events. So it was a pretty good book in terms of it was very fast paced. The chapters were fairly short, so I felt like I could read a chapter and set it down and it wasn't too much of a time commitment, and it was really good writing as well. It just ultimately by the end when I finished it fell a little flat, but that's okay. Moving on to another book. Today I am going to read the graphic novel that I wanted to read this week. That is going to be Mercy. It's a graphic novel. I should be able to finish it in a day. I'm very excited to pick this one up. Gothic Victorian vampires. The art style is really cool. I am very excited to read this one. Shouldn't be a very hard read to get through. Hopefully it will put me in kind of the spooky mood, because I've been watching other summerween vlogs, and just also stores are starting to slowly, if they're not doing back to school, they're slowly starting to put out fall, which I'm very excited for. So now that I'm not panicking about my car, I can focus on starting to get into the spooky spirit, which is exciting. And then secondly, I would like to start the Jasmine Throne because I've been looking forward to this so much. I feel like I can get through a good chunk of this today because it is my day off. So I think I will start with a graphic novel and then move on to this one, and those will be my big reading plans for the day. So huge life update, little bit of a reading update. I will be updating you at the end of today because I'm hoping to have read some really good books by the end of today. And then also I will update Friday. I'm not exactly sure when the readathon technically ends, but I am going to end it like on midnight on Friday. I believe that's when it originally was supposed to end. So I will have a Friday update as well. Hopefully from this point on, a lot more reading gets done, a lot more spooky shenanigans. But that is going to be the end of this update. I will see you in the next one. All right, friends, it is now the end of the Summerween readathon. I'm wrapping this video up the day after the readathon has concluded, so officially over. Just wanted to hop on and give a quick little synopsis of my week, of my reading, and just talk about all of the books I managed to read, what prompts they were for, and wrap up this very kind of chaotic vlog. Definitely not what I anticipated at the start of this readathon, but I did actually get some good reading in despite being very busy with other things. So all in all, I am very impressed at what I managed to read. So let's just go ahead and talk about all of those books right now. Prompt number one was bake or make a drink with your spooky read, and I did bake. I inserted some B-roll footage of this earlier on. They were from Pillsbury, so I didn't really make them from scratch, just kind of, you know, rolled them up, popped them in the oven, but they were like crescent rolls, but they're like cherry strudel crescent rolls with cherry filling on the inside. They were really good. That was pretty much the only thing that I've really baked this week, so we're counting it. It's not very spooky themed. That's okay, we can stretch it. They had white icing, so like we can call them ghostly scones, something like that. I did bake something though, so I'm checking that prompt off. For read a book in the dark, the next prompt, I actually switched up my book from what I was anticipating. I was going to read Within These Walls by Ania Ahlborn, and I am still planning on reading that book. However, my library hold came in for In the Ravenous Dark by Strickland, and I really wanted to read that one. I wanted to read it last month, and I just never got around to it, partly because I was waiting on a copy via my library. So once it came in, I was using this book for this prompt. I didn't finish it. I did get about 58% of the way through this book. So in this book, we are following our main character, Rowan, who is a pansexual blood mage, and she teams up with a cast of very unlikely characters to start a rebellion in her city between the living and the dead, which has never been done before. And I am really enjoying this book. It is a very darker sort of fantasy. The magic systems are blood magic and death magic, and they are very interesting. There's all sorts of kind of lore and things to do with blood magic, bloodlines, like sigils that appear on your skin and represent your magical bloodline. Very interesting stuff. I'm really enjoying it as well. I did want to read this book in the month of June because it does have some great rep. Like I kind of mentioned in the little blurb, our main character is pansexual. She also, along with a lot of other main characters, is polyromantic. So there is a polyamorous relationship in here, and I thought that was done really well. There's also a lesbian main character and a non-binary main character, as well as like some other like side characters are kind of talked about briefly in passing. It is kind of a world without homophobia. It's very much stated that non-heterosexual relationships are totally fine, but in the royal family and like with the blood mage family, bloodlines are very important and you have to have hereditary heirs. So it is like a world without homophobia, which is really nice, but there are like some rules in place for certain people that make kind of barriers for the people that they want to be with. So we do have some tension there in terms of like betrothals and arranged marriages and tension there, but it is like a world without homophobia pretty much. So it isn't like the tension of the story. It's just an aspect to the story that's kind of like layered on top of this main conflict. So I'm really enjoying this so far. I am listening to it via audiobook, and I do really enjoy it. I think I can be really 50-50 on picking up audiobooks for fantasy books, just because sometimes it's really hard to get into a world with an audiobook. At least for me, I'm a very visual learner instead of an audio learner. So I am really enjoying the audiobook. I'm hoping to finish this book within the next couple of days. It was one of my most anticipated reads, and it's really not disappointing so far. And it has like a perfect spooky atmosphere. It is a fantasy book, but a very dark fantasy with a lot of very horrific elements to it. So perfect for the fall if you are not necessarily a horror reader, but you want something a little bit darker for spooky season. I would really recommend this book so far, and I'm 58% of the way through it, so I don't anticipate something happening within like the last 30% or so to really make me hate this, so I'm really enjoying it. The next prompt, which I did complete, was read a paranormal book. I read Mercy by Mirka Andolfo. I know that I mentioned this was vampires in my original TBR, or just talking about this book. I did start and finish this in one sitting. It's a graphic novel, very gorgeously illustrated. I really enjoyed this. However, it is not about vampires. There is a paranormal aspect to it that I don't really want to give away, and it's not necessarily like a specific type of creature or paranormal entity that is like, you know, vampire, werewolf, ghost, like things that we know about. It is like a very creative spin on some certain lore, and it's very interesting. Definitely not vampires. And this is interesting because it has like a very gothic Victorian vibe, but also it does get like very gory. At times it is kind of delving into some body horror with the creatures, kind of almost like a mix between I would say like ghostly possession, and if you've ever seen or like know of the concept of Venom from Marvel Comics, it's like a combination of those two, so it can get very like graphic and body horrific at times. But it also had like that gothic sort of Victorian vibe as well, which was very interesting. I did enjoy this. I think this has a sequel. Yeah, it says Merciless is coming out in 2021. We'll have to see, because obviously pandemic has been just moving things around a lot, but I will absolutely be picking up the sequel. I really enjoy this artist. Her writing and her art style just are really cool and complimentary, and I just really had a fun time. Also, another graphic novel, perfect for spooky season or all year round. I really enjoyed this one. I would almost say this would also be a very good pick for maybe a winter read in the future. A lot of this does take place in the winter months, and there is snow, and it's like a very snowy setting, so that might be good if you're looking for kind of horror that takes place more in the winter. But I did really enjoy this as well. Unfortunately, not all books can be winners, and that was definitely the one for the prompt, read a horror book. This one just felt a little bit flat for me. That was House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland. I did enjoy the premise and the concept of this book. However, I feel like it was one of those books where I enjoyed the concept rather than the execution, and I just felt like this did feel a little young on the YA side for me, and I wish with some of the things that it was exploring, it would kind of delve into them a little bit more, as well as I almost would have preferred more points of views from the two older sisters rather than just exclusively the point of view of the youngest sister. However, I did enjoy it. If you do like fairy tale reimaginings or like fairy tale-esque horror, this would be a good YA novel for you. It wasn't bad, and I did enjoy the reading experience. I did really fly through this. It is a very fast-paced read. Just ultimately, I did not love this one as much as I was expecting, but I did talk about this one a lot earlier on in the vlog, so that's pretty much going to be my wrap-up of this book. Enjoyable, but just not the kind of execution that I was hoping for. And then the last prompt is read a book with orange and black on the cover. I did start a book with orange and black on the cover, and that would be The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri, and I am loving this one so far. I would say from about the 20-page mark on, you can just tell, or at least I can sometimes when you're reading a book, it's that feeling where you instantly feel like it's going to be a new favorite, potentially a new favorite series. I was just immediately hooked. I'm on about page 100 or so, and this is about 500 pages, so I didn't finish this, but I did make good headway on this book during this readathon, and I am kind of in love with it already. I'm very excited. I have heard a lot of people compare this to the City of Brass series, which I have not read. But just throwing that out there, I hear that comparison a lot, as well as the Poppy War series, and I can definitely kind of see that in terms of themes that are being explored in a fantasy setting. The writing styles are very different, I would say, but I am really enjoying this. So if you like either of those two titles, probably try and pick this up, because this is a really good high fantasy. And the little blurb, because I'm going to be honest, I am like, it is very really hard to kind of summarize like an epic fantasy story by just reading the dust jacket of the first book. I feel like I have to read it to really understand like what all the fantasy terms mean and like the context of everything, but the blurb for this book is a ruthless princess seeking to steal a throne, a powerful priestess seeking to save her family. Together they will set an empire ablaze. And this is the first book in the Burning Kingdoms trilogy. I'm absolutely loving this. I am so excited to continue reading this one as well. I have a feeling it's going to be one of my favorite books of the year, so I am glad that I picked this one up even though I didn't finish it. I did have a really enjoyable time reading it so far. And there you have it. That is actually going to be the end of this Summerween reading vlog. I did have a lot of fun. It was a great way to kick off spooky season. It's now officially in full effect for me. Pretty much start of July. We're just pushing through all the way until October because it's the best time of the year. So many thanks to Liv and Gabby for hosting this readathon. I had a lot of fun, like I always do when I participate in Summerween or Winterween. They also have a Camp Weekendween coming up, which I am very excited about. So until next spooky readathon and until my next vlog video, what have you, if you liked this one, be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel for more content from me. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!